Well, earlier, so here I am, before 11, can you believe it? Let's get started. And this day was just as full because of, reviewing the Jeffrey Epstein file dump, um, release. I should say it nicely, release. And there's a lot there to go through. And so, because we have uh, keeping an eye on Mexico, what's going on in Mexico and the press in Mexico, they're really starting to report just with a day into this Jeffrey Epstein, millions of files released. Um, the really sinister and diabolical, satanic nature of this elite pipeline that we have been exposing here on Find Richard Halliday. So we've been doing it for over 2,000 days, and today is 2010 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room there on Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas, because he was a whistleblower. And of course, he was removed and taken down to the arms room. We know this because of witness testimony and also because of the director of emergency services, Thomas Kane. And we know there was illegal orders given by Major General James Eisenhower to renovate that arms room in Richard's building where Richard was taken and his life was taken from him without any consideration for expense. No expense spared. Whatever it would cost, it needed to be renovated. They wanted to cover the crime scene, just like you saw with Charlie Kirk's crime scene. Just 2 days later, I believe, they dug like over a foot deep to pour concrete or pavers. They put these pavers because something was in the ground there, something that they wanted to cover up. And without any expense spared, they renovated the arms room there without going through the proper protocols. Because on a military base, you have certain protocols for bidding and everything like that, and they just bypass that. So we have this seal number on the door. We've exposed that. His life was taken there. He was stolen off of Fort Bliss. Evil things happened. We believe that uh, evidence indicates his organs were harvested and his partial remains dumped there at Plenitude Crematorium, which is owned by Rosa Maria Purchase Arellano Caron and her family. Yes, tied with Purchase Funeral Homes, which is transnational. They can travel back and forth. Yes, tied to the Mormon faction, which, because of the temples being on the Mexico side, they have passes even during COVID. There was no restrictions for them because they could go over there and quote unquote worship. And so this is all tied together, and it's tied together with organ harvesting and with the worst type of crimes against children, the worst type of crimes against crisis pregnancy women. And of course, it's tied to John of God and, of course, to the Walmart mass shooting case because Patrick Crusius's father was tied to John of God and also to El Paso. Patrick Crusius had family in El Paso in very high places. And so the narrative that they gave to the public, the Mockingbird media gave, was false, and it was used to attack President Trump. And I know that everywhere you look, they're trying to pin something on President Trump, and, go for it, right? You can go for it. I know that they have, um, I know in 2016 he had been audited 10 times by the IRS in a row, 10 years in a row, audited by the IRS. And now, since then, in these 10 years, I can't even imagine what he's gone through. Him and his sons, and I'm not saying, I- I'm not, yeah, I guess I am, but, he just filed a $10 billion lawsuit against the IRS for leaking his financials. His financials are his filings. They are just so. I just can't even tell you. In 2015, I looked up his financials. I posted them on the side, and they were just so absolutely jaw dropping. And to file taxes on that worldwide, internationally, and everything, I just can't even imagine. I mean, it's just no wonder he likes deductions, right? He likes deductions, he says, and but to leak that, to go through with a fine tooth comb like they went through our son's information. Where's his Bitcoin? Where's his car? Where's his phone? They went through his everything. They had to fabricate stories to discredit him because he's such a stellar person, such a stellar soldier, that they had to fabricate and even plot against him to try to fabricate uh, uh, discrediting stories because he was a whistleblower for this pipeline, y'all. And he was a whistleblower for this pipeline that includes the Walmart mass shooting. And the timeline for it all, absolutely from El Chapo, I can start with El Chapo in 2016 when he was arrested. And of course, all the different arrests during that time with Cesar Duarte even was arrested that time. He's been rearrested just recently, for all the embezzlement and money laundering and you name it. Um, and then, of course, Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein were arrested during that time. And Epstein, the incident, he's gone, right? But his files aren't. His files aren't. They're here. And now it's coming out. All these elites. Um, and Mexico is reporting that it's pretty satanic and diabolical, right? It's really diabolical. And we've been saying that it's the worst type of crimes against children. And so, uh, and of course, Richard would absolutely only become a whistleblower, um, because he told us it's so bad. It's so bad, Mom. It's so bad. It's so bad. And when he came to visit us in August of 2019, he said, I'll talk about anything but not the Army. And we only had, a short period of time together. And we went and had a great time. We went and had a family portrait because we were all together. And we went and had a great time. And when he got back, he started whistleblowing, y'all. He started whistleblowing. Um, there's so many things I can tell you about that time, but yeah, it's a little emotional. But I think it was just so wonderful to be at home and with family, and he understood what he had to fight for because a lot of children don't have that, and a lot of people don't know that Richard and my eldest son, they're brothers. We adopted them, and we just We even forget to mention it because we just forget it, because um, I forget sometimes that. Anyway, I don't want to talk about emotional things, but the Jeffrey Epstein files and the worst type of crimes are just so emotional, y'all. It's you almost have to lay down on the floor and just uh, you know, really meditate to control your body because you know, um it's just so disturbing. It's so disturbing. And what they did to Richard is so disturbing. And it's tied to the Walmart mass shooting, okay, which is very cartel. I'm going to tell you that right now. And Richard, I think the main motive um, for his death was because he was reporting on the military's connections and ties to the Walmart mass shooting. Because obviously, if you even look 30, let's say 15 minutes, if you look 15 minutes at the case and the documents and stuff, um, you absolutely know that it was um, a political a political incident. And of course, it was right after Beto had declared his presidency, his campaign for the 2020, and his opponent was President Trump. And uh, it's connected to TPUSA. Um, I think it is a. I think Charlie Kirk was pro President Trump, but I think the people behind him, um, I think that's why he was being bullied so much and why they wanted him dead because um, it is absolutely connected to the Walmart mass shooting, which is absolutely intertwined with our son's case. So let me explain. Because Dan Flood, who we believe is very close to Erica Kirk, is from Allen, Texas, and also was the security with Brian Harple for Charlie Kirk. They are the failed security, okay? The failed security team. Charlie Kirk is no longer alive. They put him in a hole. They didn't check the roofs. They didn't even have a person by the door going up to the roof. They didn't, and this is not an ordinary security team. This is a security team that gets paid loads of money. Okay, they're from the DFW area. This is the military industrial complex area. Dallas Fort Worth is a military industrial complex area. It just is. And they're from Allen, Texas. Lo and behold, and Allen, Texas is just a little suburb, y'all. It's just a little suburb of the greater Dallas Fort Worth area. And Dan Flood is from Allen, Texas. So is John Brian Crucius connected to John of God. And you know that John of God in Brazil had those farms and was farming babies, literally. I mean, it was just the most disgusting thing ever. And he was arrested in December of 2018. Okay, John of God was, who was connected to Oprah. So, this is really important to know that the first Trump administration was arresting very big individuals, elites um, involved in this pipeline. From because the top of the pipeline is Zorro Ranch, right? I mean, it can go all into the United States, but Zorro Ranch was the hub. Zorro Ranch borders on White Sands Missile Range. I was born at White Sands Missile Range, and it has a call up area that it nearly touches. Jeffrey Epstein's rented property because he had like 7,000 acres that he owned, and then he rented government property. And that had a beacon on it. It's called the Otto beacon. It's still there, and the pilots can use that. It has a certain frequency, and you dial into it, and it takes you right there. The plane takes you right there to that GPS location, which is Jeffrey Epstein's landing strip, and he had a hangar and everything there. And it went then right up to his Zorro Ranch. Um, he was arrested, okay? Ghislaine Maxwell was arrested, and John of God was arrested. John of God is the southern node at the end of the pipeline, so to speak, because you have this New Mexico ranch that can fly over White Sands Missile Range, you know, to the Santa Teresa International Jetport, which is right there on the border in El Paso. That's where El Mayo was arrested recently. And you can fly into Mexico, all the way down to Mexico City and across over to Cuba. This is why Cuba is so important. Cuba is central to this pipeline. Okay, the destruction of that pipeline, that is fueled with actual fuel, right? That's why Venezuela was so important, to take away their fuel. And that's why Cuba, the consequences of destroying this criminal trafficking pipeline is that Cuba doesn't have fuel, right? That Cuba doesn't have fuel because their elites were up to no good. Their elites were up to no good in this terrible, very evil, satanic, criminal trafficking pipeline. And it went through Cuba and to Haiti, and we all know about Haiti and the Haiti children. And Renee Good, who just lost her life by resisting ICE, and that's what she was doing. She was resisting ICE. She was there to make trouble. And I think that these these troublemakers against ICE, I think they're getting paid for, escalation. Like, if you arrest me, come and arrest me, come at us, come, do the. If you get a really good scene on camera, I think you get maybe like a bonus, maybe a 10,000 bonus or whatever. So they're really egging out, and you see the same playbook with Renee Good and Alex. Um, uh, what was his name? Anyway, with Alex, I'll remember it. Um, Pretty, right? Alex Pretty. Uh, they were escalating. They wanted to get things on camera. They had their camera right here. You can't go and do these felonies carrying a weapon. Okay, that's against the law. You cannot. If you're going to go and engage in felony crimes, you cannot carry a weapon. You lose your right to carry a weapon. Okay, so that's why President Trump's administration can talk about this without fearing a Second Amendment debate, because he was there to commit felony crime, and he lost his right to carry the weapon. Um, and so, and I'm not making excuses for the ICE, but we know, how stupid are you when you know that the police we have bad actors in the police, very bad actors in the FBI, very bad actors in the sheriffs, very bad actors in our entire government. So these people don't expect to have loose wires or bad actors in ICE. I mean, really, are you kidding me? But yet they still will have to call these agencies and institutions when they need them, right? So what do? Everybody has a complaint, but what do? You want everything to be like, take away our entire government. This sometimes I've said that, through this, like, let's just get rid of our government, but then we have anarchy, right? And what do you want to happen here? It's just like these Jeffrey Epstein files that were now released, and I'm going to talk about those. And they get pretty, I mean, what they do is, and I think President Trump absolutely made it happen, by forcing everybody's hand. He gaslit people and said, "Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?" He totally gaslit everyone. Everyone went absolutely crazy, and that's all that they were talking about. Because if he didn't want them to be released, he would never have said that, right? Because he knows how the press is, he knows how the left is, and he totally gaslit for that to be the conversation, to really stress, to really pressure the files to come out. And who do they expose? They expose the elites. They expose the elites. Um, and are they trustworthy? Those, some might be trustworthy, some might not be trustworthy. We know that in our son's case, the files got tampered with. The CID file is that it's just not trustworthy at all. And his military record, they've whitewashed things. Um, they've tampered, and we have official documents that prove that it's been tampered with, and whistleblower, um, uh, filings and complaints that prove it was tampered. So, is there no tampering going on in this Jeffrey Epstein file release? I think you'd be naive to say there was not tampering going on, of course, and we know that our filing in Mexico was tampered with, because that goes out to law enforcement. And so if you're up to no good, you're going to want a position that you can tamper with files, so that you can mislead the police, the good police that are out there, the white hats, right? The white hats. So reveal it all. It's so sick. Yes, it is. And I can tell you that we have Leilani Hart's confession, which is the sick of the sick. And when you confess like that, especially if you're the character of Leilani Hart, you're not saying the whole story. And so her confession, her affidavit, the whole thing, when you read it, you just want to go and throw up. It is just the worst type of crimes against children, her own children. It's just hell, hell. What a hell life, that she has led, is just hell. And by her own wanting, because she facilitated it, right? She facilitated the worst type of movies of children, right? She facilitated all of this. And um, so it's just, it all needs to be released. And if we don't trust our government, then we need to get our money back, don't we? I think that taxes need to be totally cut. They need to figure out a different way, because they have been exploiting us with all of this fraud. And I think it's a thanks to President Trump, because just in 2025, it's just been, you had El Mayo and El Chapo's son do the plea deal. You had El Chapo before, from 2016, was arrested and made the plea deal. And you had all of these arrests, all of these extradition of all these cartel, the whole pipeline inside, the fuel bust, the money laundering, the embezzlement. That was Cesar Duarte. The fuel bust is Cesar Peniche, the Attorney General for Chihuahua, the state of Chihuahua, Mexico. His home was, his mansion was raided, and his group of Carvel, was siphoning billions of barrels of fuel from the pipeline from Pemex, and we believe even Fort Bliss. We have then the whole thing at Fort Huachuca with Dan Flood and, well, really Brian Harple, but Dan Flood is really important in all of this because he is, with Brian Harple, the Allen connection to TPUSA, to the Walmart mass shooting case because of Brian Crucius um, and Patrick Crucius, Pat C. And and Erica Kirk is keeping him on. She likes him. She likes him. She's keeping him on. He failed her husband. Her husband's no longer alive because of Dan Flood and Brian Harple. And yet she's keeping them on, and she doesn't seem like she's afraid at all. She's doesn't she must know. She must have some way to know that her life is not at risk by by a to have a failed security system around you. You must know that your life is not at risk to even care if you have good security or not, because she keeps them around, and they are um it's well, we call what's going on in El Paso the Mormon faction El Paso cartel in alliance with the Mexican cartels. They give visas, they give access to databases, to our intelligence databases, to our police department, to our police department databases. They uh, they become judges. They're they just break every kind of law. It is so crazy. It's this infiltration, and you say, why isn't there any justice? Why isn't there any accountability? Because the El Paso Mormon faction cartel has made an alliance to say you can do your evil, satanic, criminal trafficking with this pipeline with impunity. And if anyone gets in the way, you have access, will leak. I mean, it was Colin Wetton, the assistant special agent in charge that's been there for over 10 years. He's really the special agent in charge as far as I'm concerned. I mean, Jared Brown is now, but he just got there. Jared Brown just got there to the FBI, and really it's Colin Wetton, and it was Colin Wetton that leaked our son's name to the cartel. Okay. So you file with the FBI, and then your name gets leaked, and then you get retaliated, and you get, a target on your back. And it seems like Erica Kirk has no fear. And, I'm just thinking back because, my age and everything, to Jackie Kennedy. I don't think ever recovered. She was always a fear. She had a lot of fear. I don't think you can live through that and not, I mean, yes, she was wealthy, but you could tell she was never the same, right? She was never the same. So, there's a trauma that comes with something like this when it hits your family. And it's just not in Erica Kirk. She doesn't display it that I can see. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing it, but I don't see it. And a lot of other people don't see it. And so, and it's like, I would say my security team, that security team is fired. I'm the CEO now. You're fired. Get the hell out of here. We need something better, but there's no fear there, and she likes them. She likes them. So, because all her actions absolutely declare that she likes them. So that's really, really strange because they're connected with Allen, Texas, to the Cruciuses. So now I'm going to play this because it needs to get more views, and many of you that follow have watched this, but I'm going to play it for people that haven't seen it. And it is the Mayella connection in the Walmart mass shooting case. And why am I playing this? Because President Trump has just opened up a new department in the Department of Justice on fraud, a fraud department. And the FBI in El Paso have committed egregious fraud, and allowed others to commit egregious fraud in so many ways. And they could have stopped it, but they did nothing. They haven't arrested Leilani Hart yet. They absolutely have to arrest Leilani Hart, because there's no reason to not arrest her. She has committed the crimes out and outright that are deserving of her arrest. So that needs to be, and of course, she has her not her Epstein files, but her Leilani files, right? So she has her Leilani files, absolutely. So that's why it's been taking so long for this arrest. But I think it's coming now. I think it really is coming. Um, and where is the FBI that's on the Walmart case, that is allowing the fraud of the application for appointed counsel? The application for appointed counsel was signed at 5:42 a.m. in on Sunday morning, less than 19 hours after the initial shooting. Okay. And that's on a Sunday. That is so strange. And at 5:42 in the morning, this is evidence of it really shows an appearance that this was all pre-planned, that was all pre-planned. But another reason why they would rush and put it on turbo force, right? Um, to sign, to approve this application for appointed counsel, putting the whole defense um, on the taxpayer's dime, right? On the taxpayer's tab, right? That's what they were doing, is and putting 000 and not requiring any kind of investigation into his very wealthy family. Okay. um and that is because his father was connected to John of God. They didn't want any kind of investigation into John Brian Crucius, right? They didn't want any kind of investigation going into that would lead to this pipeline down to Brazil, John of God, where they were producing babies for sale, right? That's what he was doing, and worse, the worst type of things down there. And that was being promoted by Oprah. And Oprah is definitely very connected to Beto O'Rourke. And La Diabla was doing the same thing. And she's connected to Beto O'Rourke. And then they have the crematorium, the narco dumping ground, or the dumping ground for all of this, for what's left over. And that is connected to Beto O'Rourke. That's connected to El Paso, big time. So this is it's just jaw dropping, and it makes sense why. But this document is so important, because it shows that they didn't want any kind of investigation into John Brian Crucius, the father of Patrick Crucius. Okay. And also, it was because, Joe Spencer said, I'm not going to do this for nickels and dimes. I want, so to speak, an open checkbook, right? He wanted the taxpayers' open checkbook to fund this, so that he could charge the taxpayers millions and millions of dollars, right? And that's exactly what he did. It cost millions and millions of dollars because normally for defense there is a limit. You could only spend 20,000 or 30,000, or maybe for this 50,000. But no, he wanted an open checkbook that he could make the taxpayers on the hook for millions and millions of dollars. So it's really a lot of fraud here. And the other thing about this application for appointed counsel, when you put together the timeline of August 3rd, 2019, that day of the shooting, and then the next morning at 5:42 a.m. on a Sunday, that it got stamped, right? That it got stamped for approval. We have an audio, we have lots of audio of Joe Spencer, and part of the audio is him saying that he's telling Judge Medrano and Judge Guadarrama that he is not going to do this for nickels and dimes. He wants an open checkbook. Well, when did he say that to them? It had to be the day of the shooting, or like before 5:42 a.m. in the morning. Okay? For the approval. I mean, when did he, or and wait a minute. I have to correct myself. Judge Guadarrama and Judge Medrano weren't even assigned to Patrick Crusius's case. They weren't even assigned. Why is he even talking to Judge Guadarrama and Judge Medrano? Because he also says that he met with Patrick Crusius on August 5th in the jail as his lawyer, as his appointed counsel, charging the taxpayers already the very next day on that Monday. So when did he talk to Guadarrama and Medrano when they weren't even assigned yet to the case? So I think it is like big bells going off, ding, 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 red flags, everything. This was before a shot was fired. This shows an orchestrated Walmart mass shooting. And so this is why this application for appointed counsel, to me, needs to be investigated. And look, if I can do this and look into this, where the hell is the FBI, right? Well, we know that they are dirty FBI agents that were assigned to and part of the Mormon faction. Part of the Mormon faction, El Paso Cartel, Todd Petkus, and David Frost. Okay? So you got these real terrible El Paso Cartel, Mormon faction, FBI agents, Connell Wetton, who is like the lead guy, right? Of course, you've got Nieto, but you've got these two that were assigned to the Walmart, Todd Petkus and David Frost, and they are just, I mean, let me tell you, they were investigated, right? That tells you there's some white hats out there. They were investigated and they were disciplined, okay? They were disciplined. I don't know if they got a little hit on the hand or whatever, but these are dirty, very dirty FBI agent. And they have conflicts of interest, y'all, that would blow your mind. It's like Jaime Esparza had conflicts of interest and he was allowed to stay on they allowed him to stay on the case. So why didn't they look at this application for appointed counsel? Why didn't they look at what Joe Spencer was saying and these everything going on? And why didn't they tell us about the Mayellas? And so now I'm going to play this video for you. Let me turn the sound on.
In the Walmart shooting case, some names are shushed, like Mayella are hushed. It's Patrick Crusius, El Paso family. They're in the federal courthouse, literally. Because his brother Brian married a Mayella. Cause Patrick's brother married a Mayella. Yeah. El Paso matters, they knew, kept it hush hush. In a quid pro quo, money rush. Courthouse favors for a fake news show. They're bias, it's clear as you know. So they built a lie designed to divide, attacking Trump while the truth set aside. With a fake story, the false narrative grew, smearing Trump's name, deceiving me and you. Michael Mayella, the father pulling strings, Menange's judge, Guadarrama's court. Cha-chings gave courthouse favors for a fake news show, so the media lets Mayella's names lay low. Crucius had no ties, they clamored in the news, but they're in the chamber wearing courthouse shoes. And Michael Jr., the brother of the bride, interned at the DA's side. Also with the dirty FBI leaker who tattletaled while at Walmart where the security failed. What the hell? So they built a lie designed to divide, attacking Trump while the truth set aside. With a fake story, the false narrative grew, smearing Trump's name, deceiving me and you. El Paso matters, more like El Paso hush. A quid pro quo, money rush. Courthouse favors for a fake news show. They're bias, it's clear as you know. With Bob Moore whispering lies in our ear, no truth, no integrity, year after year. They let it roll, they let the falsehoods fly, bury the truth while the real stories die. They painted Cruises as a hater of Brown, a fake white supremacist just to drag Trump down. And Michael Jr., the brother of the bride, interned at the DA's side. With Esparza, Montoya, and Nieto, the FBI leak a tattletale. Wow, and in Walmart where security failed. Where security failed. Security failed. Where security failed. Justice for Richard Halliday.
Yeah, and I made one too. That's called Pat C. And it really shows the application. I should have brought that one up too. But, you know, you cannot hide the Mayella's relationship with John Brian Crucius and Patrick Crucius when you're in the federal courthouse, when you are in the DA's office with James Bonneau Montoya. You know, Michael Mayella worked with James Bonneau Montoya under Jaime Esparza. Okay, that's what the paychecks say. And thank God for open records, right? And then Michael Mayella also worked under Connell Wenton, Todd Petkus, and David Frost in the FBI. They knew who Mayella was. They knew it, and they kept it. They kept the false narrative because they wanted the false narrative to be politicized. They allowed the weaponization of the Walmart mass shooting against President Trump. Whether you like President Trump or not, whatever these Jeffrey Epstein files will tell us, I'm telling you, our evidence is that he is dismantling this pipeline. He's been dismantling it since 2016 because the arrest record show it. The El Chapos, the El Mayos, the destruction of the extradition of so many of these big kingpin cartel leaders, these revealing and stopping of the siphoning of the fuel, uh, the Cuban connection, of course, with Miss Universe, of course, with Soraldi, um, the uh, well, Jeffrey Epstein himself was arrested, and Ghislaine Maxwell, and of course, John of God. Um, and you see that Oprah had a reason why she was I think she was like the first to bring Beto um, on her platform before he, when he was just thinking about running for president, and then ran that again on her channel, right? Ran it, and she has so many people, right? So it was no small thing that she was involved in. Of course, she was involved with John of God pushing him. And then, so she was working very hard for Kamala. Now you understand why. Why would somebody that has, made her brand to help people and children and all that, really be actively working against them? Right? I mean, that's what you know them by their fruit. Um, and really attacking President Trump. I mean, so if they're attacking him this much, it's not that I'm offended that they're attacking him. It's just that they're really attacking him. They've been really attacking him, trying to do so. That tells you he must be doing some things that they don't like, right? They're not petting him like they used to. They used to, oh, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, but they're not doing that anymore. They have that syndrome, right? They have the syndrome. So, the, oh yeah. Well, the internet has lies. Brianna, Richard is in the line of duty, murdered on base, and the people involved have access. They have access. They're cartel, and they have access into our databases. They tamper with files, and that's why they mislead us. They're very deceptive, and that's why I call it satanic, because they operate for themselves and they operate in deception, which I'm going to put up this and talk about this picture here. We all know that Erica Kirk has been operating in deception when it comes to who she is, right? She didn't tell us about this, lying about this boyfriend, lying about, well, I don't know if this was her boyfriend, but, she had, what was the other guy's name? Cabot Phillips as a boyfriend. I haven't put him on here. I need to. But I'm just finding all these double gangers, right? They all look alike. They all look alike. It just seems like they're related. They're related. And because of what we have had to go through these 5 years, and the common denominator being funeral home fraud, right? Funeral home fraud. And then also that these were a part of a Mormon faction, right? And it was who told us, who gave us um, that insight to look into that? And he was absolutely right. It was James Courtney Hart Sr. when I talked to him on the phone. It was James Courtney Hart Sr. Dallas Hart, the prime suspect in taking our son's life. It was his father that told us that this was a Mormon faction. He didn't say Mormon faction. He said that they were Mormons. So um, we've put in there a Mormon faction because we didn't want people to think that we were talking about this cartel, El Paso cartel Mormon faction. It's um, and I hope that defines it well, right? Because because it's pretty diabolical, y'all, and very violent, very, very violent. So, but it was James Courtney Hart, that told us that. So look at this, that they're all, isn't this so strange? Look, you wouldn't think that Tyler Robinson would score so high with this Tyler Massey. They score so high, y'all. I mean, they could almost be the same person, you know? And I didn't think that they would score so high, but I've taken several different pictures of both of them and ran them through the facial recognition, and they go, oh, it's really high. All of them score high. Okay, all of them score high. Otherwise, they wouldn't be on here. Um, uh, David Henry scores high with Montoya. Okay, they score high, very high together in their pictures. And I should have put up a recent picture of Montoya, but I really like this with the James Bonneau because, he tries to hide that from the public that he's a James Bonneau, okay, and that he changed his name for the vote, James Bonneau Montoya, okay? So, because he wanted the Mexican vote, right? So they operate in deception. And he's absolutely deception because he's not even legally installed and he's just part of the cartel, part of the Mormon faction, El Paso cartel. All of these people, besides, like Patrick Crucius, uh, Beto O'Rourke, Montoya, Tyler Robinson, they're part of the Mormon faction, El Paso cartel. Okay, I'm just telling you. Now, this, I don't know who this is, and I had it in red, but maybe I messed up there and I was doing some other naming. Anyway, I'll put this in red again. Who is he? And make it bigger. Um, but um, but most of these people are part of this Mormon cartel, and I'm just thinking, if Erica Kirk is going to surround herself by Mormon cartel people, or uh, does that tell you something? Does that tell you something? It tells me something. And then a lot of questions pop up, and then she's like, oh well, I don't drink, mm, because you know is she trying to reach out to the Mormon community because they don't drink, right? They don't drink. They're not like, I'm Anglican, so we like our wine, we like our beer, and yeah, and there's no problem for us with that unless you drink too much of it. uh I don't know. The Mormons, they don't drink. They just say, no, keep away from it. But according to her, she doesn't drink, but then she's been caught drinking. It's just deception, 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 and this whole thing with the dating and this whole thing with everything with, there's just been, there's a lot of questions. And keeping the security, the failed security, beside her is my biggest red flag. Okay. Why would anyone do that? No way. No way, right? No way. Um that was the mistake was so big, and it was absolutely their fault. Okay? Absolutely their fault. They made him a sitting duck. Okay? Why? And they did not secure the crime scene like they should have, and they've just created a lot of chaos in our country and around the world. And why would you keep them on your team or on your payroll? Why would you pay them that kind of money? I mean, they make loads of money. So and they're from Allen, Texas, which is you know well, it's a Mormon stronghold in that area. So, that should tell us more too. But, most of the Mormon faction comes from the Mexican side because they went to Mexico because they're polygamous and our laws were against polygamy. They went over there and they had, and maybe that's why they look alike. Maybe multiple wives, but the same daddy. I don't know. And it's funny that this is what was going on with John of God, you know, just impregnating all these women. And then that was what Jeffrey Epstein was doing, wasn't he? He was trying to impregnate all these women, or young girls. So something is really strange, and I think that it shouldn't be dismissed that they look like double gangers and that they score so high. And she surrounds herself with all these people that look alike, these men that look alike, that look like people that do very violent acts, right? She doesn't surround herself with Tyler Robinson, but she does with Tyler Massey, and they're very, oh, those scores are too high, okay, to be a coincidence. And then, who is this guy? I mean, he looks like Beto O'Rourke. He looks like Tyler Robinson. He looks like Patrick Crusius. you know? I mean, he looks like Montoya. And he even looks similar to David Henry. Who are the it's just the double ganger in all of this is really, you can't ignore it. You cannot ignore it. So let me answer any questions. I'm so you look at the all the people because I guess I'm coming on a little earlier. Um, it's sick. Reveal it all, Lord. Yes. Who are you and what is this account about? I'm confused and I want more information. Well, I am the Gold Star mother of the biggest hero America. Oh, uh, I just think he's going to be. Well, of course, I'm his mother, so um, and you have George Washington, and I think President Trump, if he stays on this path and destroying this pipeline, he is going to be a huge hero, huge hero. But he has billions of dollars. He has all these help. Richard didn't have anybody. He didn't have anybody. He was far away. We were in Ireland. We were in Germany. Were moving and being in Florida. And he had joined the army from Korea and went all the way to El Paso. And he was surrounded by the worst type of evil. And he was targeted for grooming. Y'all, he was targeted for grooming. And he resisted all of that. Remember the video he put out and he said, I'd rather burn my money than spend it on whores and blow. That was his video, and he put it out there so that other soldiers could see it, so that these groomers, those that target you could see it. He even warned those honey pots or whatever that they send into to destroy the soldiers in the barracks. He said, don't do it. Don't do it. They don't respect you. And of course he's talking about prostitution. Not even prostitution. It was just being on camera and all that stuff. Um, and he was caught on video saying that. He resisted. They tried to absolutely destroy him while he was living there. His chain of command, the cartel. Look at, he was such a threat to them that they sent Ray Velarde to be his handler, right? They sent Ray Velarde to be Richard's handler. Who's Ray Velarde? Well, look it up. It's El Mayo's lawyer. El Mayo only has, the two head lawyers, right? Ray Velarde is one of them. Who's El Mayo? The billionaire, absolute co-founder of the Sinaloa cartel, billionaire co-founder of the Sinaloa cartel, is so afraid of my son that he has to send his lawyer, Ray Velarde, to be his handler, to be counterintelligence, to see what is Richard reporting, what does he know? They had access into our databases, and yet Richard, standing firm on his faith, on his morals, was more of a threat to them that they had to send Ray Velarde to be his handler. It's just, you know, um, and they took his life. I mean, they had the FBI, they had the CIA, CID, they had the DA's office. Well, they had the DA's office until July 14th, and then they didn't. And I think that scared them. And I think that was a real trigger for really going after Richard and taking his life when they lost the DA's office. So, the timeline is very interesting and it really shows a lot. Richard was reporting this pipeline, this criminal trafficking, crimes against children, multiple calls, multiple communications with multiple agencies, with multiple institutions. He was reporting that, and he was reporting that the military had ties to the Walmart mass shooting, which it did, which it does. And the shooting, we have confirmation by several investigators in it that it was staged. And this couple of very dirty FBI agents that were in charge of the Walmart mass shooting did not secure the crime scene for 48 hours. So they gave anybody that wanted to stage it ample time to stage it. And we have broken that, of course, with the Alexander Gerhard Hoffman's pictures of his of his death, with Patrick Crucius entering in to the Walmart, which was released by the Department of Public Safety, these pictures. So, yes, that's who we are. And for them to lie about our son, to lie, to cover this up, to cover the Jeffrey Epstein, John of God pipeline, that's what they were doing. And it's just very clear now, isn't it? Everybody that has been following absolutely sees that it's very, very clear that finally it's coming out. Why it was required 15 plus agencies to meet with the parents of Richard Halliday in a dog and pony show without an op board and the military not in uniform, why they had to use a CAO, assign them a casualty affairs officer from Fort Huachuca, TRADOC, asymmetric warfare. And we caught him red-handed performing asymmetric warfare tactics on us, on our family. I mean, it's like, really? I mean, and that's hard evidence. And then, of course, Nadal Baim, the Palestinian arms dealer, who is the father-in-law of the lieutenant colonel in our son's chain of command. And then the chain of command being involved with this Christian teen club. And we're going to get into that more. That has been, and I haven't revealed that so much, but it's coming out now with these dumps, with these releases, these file releases. Richard's chain of command was involved in the Christian teen club. Was it a Christian teen club? These people are deceivers. They will call themselves something very pretty to cover up the satanic behavior that they are engaged in. Okay? And so they are absolutely the children of the devil because that's how they operate. They're absolutely operating in deception. And so we're going to be getting into that, but just think about that. Just think about how um yeah, it's Richard's chain of command. And so it explains why they targeted him so badly. I mean, so unjustly. And he's really a hero. He is, President Trump is absolutely right. Um, and I should turn this off so you can see the letter behind us. Let's see, right there. You see it? President Trump is absolutely right. He sent us 2 letters, and one of them on a very special stationery, and it was the one hanging behind me is a copy of it. Okay, we have the original in a very very special place, and it is it's not a normal letter that a president would send. No, um, it's much much more than that. And the other one that came the day before we received um, the accolades for Richard that are just, I think, Medal of Honor kind of wording. Um, yeah. Um, the one before that is all about the death penalty, seeking the death penalty for the perpetrators. And he has made um, executive orders. He has brought back the death penalty. This week we had an execution in Texas, and I posted about that. Uh, so this is very important because the violence that was used in our son's case is so egregious that the death penalty must be on the table. Absolutely. And and he has made way. He has done everything to with the Plenitude crematorium raid. That was huge, y'all. Um, the La Diabla was huge because her name is Martha Alicia Mendez Aguilar. Aguilar. Okay, and her family was working for Beto O'Rourke. Okay, and so was Justin Underwood's wife was working for Beto O'Rourke, just so you know. So all of these connections, and Justin Underwood has a real criminal activity part in all of this with the Walmart, just like with these dirty FBI agents. So yeah, the time is coming, and God has the perfect timing, and we are absolutely um, going to keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing until God's timing is just right. So let me answer any more questions. What is his status? Is not no. Mm-mm. Thank you. Thank you, Carissa. Thank you, Anicia. Thank you so much. Thank you for those kind words about Richard. Thank you for helping me give direction to people that have been deceived and misled by false stories, absolute lies, and and thank you for all the prayers and all the love and just coming on for so long, over 5.5 years, every day we've done this, except for Good Friday, um, every day. So thank you so much. And I will be back tomorrow. I think that is a lot of information, and we're really looking through the Jeffrey Epstein. That was the whole topic tonight. The Jeffrey Epstein um, has revealed something very interesting about George W. Bush, not George Bush Sr. That is very, very, very disturbing, but I posted it anyway. I don't know. Maybe I should have redacted some of it. I don't know, but it's out there, right? It's out there. And it was posted um, tying all of this pipeline to the satanic, demonic nature of it. And that's was a huge step because it's the truth. And so to see a publication that has credentials to post that was something very important to put it in the right step, because what Richard was reporting was so egregious that they had to send Ray Velarde, right? They had to give a code red. They had to get the whole military. They had 15 agencies, ATF, CID and CIA and Interpol and sheriffs and the police and this and that. I mean, there's been no other case like this, and you just don't believe it until you've lived through it like we have. Um, so it has a satanic and diabolical nature to the crimes, and they involve the elite, and it is coming out. And if they are going to reveal that about George Bush, and of course, Leilani Hart got a hug again with George W. Bush, who we know was up to no good also. Um, it's always like I got to paint these pictures, for some reason these elites want to paint these pictures, anyway, it's so I just wanted to tell everybody that I did post that, and I hope that you look into that, because there's a lot at stake here. We cannot let this pipeline go um, without accountability, right? And I see that President Trump is arresting, and everyone goes, no one's being arrested. They are being arrested. But the pipeline is, you know, New Mexico, okay? So Zorro Ranch, Fort Bliss, or White Sands Missile Range, and it goes down into Mexico then, and over to Cuba, and to Haiti, and to Dominican Republic, and then to Puerto Rico, and then to Little St. James, and then Venezuela, and then down to Brazil, right? And then back again, right? That's the pipeline. The pipeline is also Fort Huachuca, which is on the border. They have tunnels. They have tunnels. Well, once you get into the United States, it becomes much more difficult, right? Much more difficult to figure out, who's financing this, who's giving the fuel for this, who's transporting, right? You have to do the transport, the storage, the storage units, the shipping containers, right? Um, so, you know, all of these cartel people that have been extradited, including Maduro, including the recent plea deal, what she was given what do you call that when all your crimes go away or whatever. You don't have to. Anyway, it'll come to me. A pardon. She was given a pardon. The old governor of Puerto Rico, and they're all singing, y'all. They're all singing. The owner of Miss Universe was arrested, singing, making plea deals, So Cesar Duarte, the former governor of Chihuahua, uh, and I can't tell you more because there's so much behind the scenes that are going on. But know that there is a lot going on, and what it is the dismantling of this pipeline, and that's why you see the demons out just hate Trump, hate Trump, hate Trump, because their pipeline is being destroyed. And that was such a huge economy, y'all. It was demonic, it was satanic, but it was a huge economy. And so a lot of people are, blaming it on ICE. Uh, but because now they want to extort from the illegals that are in the country because they can blackmail them, they can use and abuse them because they're always afraid of being deported, right? So, yeah, this is why you see what you see, and it's no coincidence that Renee Good's mother is part of Haiti children. Haiti children. It's yeah. I'm just saying. Maybe I'm wrong. But seemingly, it seems to me. Anyway, okay. And the other one too has problems. So thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be